All right, now let's talk about our interpolation or our resampling methods here down at the bottom of the dialog box. Before we get into this though, I want to show you one quick trick. I've messed around a little bit inside this dialog box. I want to go back to where I started. I could hit cancel and then go back into the dialog box and choose it again. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down my Option key here on the Mac or Alt on the PC, and notice the cancel button changes to a reset button. So I'll just click on reset there. That takes me back to where I started, and now I can continue on with my adjustments. So just a neat little trick there that you can use inside the image size dialog box, and as a matter of fact, inside most dialog boxes inside Photoshop. Alright, so as I mentioned earlier, when you have resampling turned on, you're changing the pixel count inside the image. If you're making the image larger, you're increasing the number of pixels. If you're making the image smaller, you're decreasing the number of pixels. And what we're asking Photoshop to do, if we have resampling turned on, is we're asking Photoshop to make the pixels up or recalculate the pixels. If I take this image from 5 inches to 10 inches, well, where's that extra size come from? Well, it's got to come from somewhere, and that's what Photoshop's recalculation or interpolation methods are all about. That's these guys here. So think of these guys as different mathematical formulas for recalculating pixels. Hopefully you're still with me there. I used the big M word, the math word. Let me go through this kind of quickly here. Now, nearest neighbor here, what he's going to do, he's going to preserve the hard edges. You can see that in the brackets there. So something like this, the line art, that would be a really good example of where I might use nearest neighbor. He's a faster method, but he's also less precise. You wouldn't want to use nearest neighbor on a photograph or something. You get really, really nasty results. Bilinear is kind of a middle of the road. You can give them a try if you want. And then my bicubics are much better suited for photographs. You can see here, best for smooth gradients. What a gradient is a transition between color. So I also have bicubic smoother and bicubic sharper, and you can see they're best for enlargement and best for reduction. So again, it depends on what you're doing with your images. What you may want to do is try one. If it doesn't give you the results you want, if your image comes out a little bit blurry, you may want to try another. All right, now let me give you a proper example of these interpolation methods here. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to cancel out of this dialog box. And as a matter of fact, my robot here, I don't need him open either. So I'm going to close out of him. It's the small robot that I want to focus on here. So I'm just going to expand his window a little bit here. And I'm going to go back into that image size dialog box, Command Option I or Control Alt I on the Windows side. Pull that guy up here. All right, now here's what I want to do. I want to show you some different results. So inside my image size dialog box, I can see I have a very small image here. He's only 360 pixels wide by 360 pixels in height, and he's a very low resolution image there, 72. All right, so here's what I want to do. I want to take the 72 and I'm going to change it to 600. And I want Photoshop to recalculate these pixels. Notice what happened to my pixel dimension there, up to 3000. I want Photoshop to recalculate these pixels using the nearest neighbor resampling method or interpolation method. All right, so let's see the results that we get. I'm going to click on OK here. Whoa, look at that. Lots of pixelation. I'm still at 100% there. Down in the bottom left-hand corner there, you can see all the pixelation that's happened here. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. Boy, he looks quite trashy. Nasty stuff. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to undo that. Command Z or Control Z on the Windows side. Z, of course, being the Canadian version of Z. Zoom back into 100%. There we are. All right, so we're back to where we started. Let's try a different resampling method or a different interpolation method. All right, so back into the image size dialog box, Command Option I or Control Alt I on the Windows side. Here we are. We want it to go to 600, right? The resolution. This time I'm going to try using bicubic, the default. I'll click on OK. Notice it's fuzzy, but it's not as pixelated as it was before. So definitely a difference. Maybe this one would actually be passable, depending on the job that I'm trying to do. What you have to understand is that Photoshop is trying to do the best that it can with the information that we've given it. So we may not get the results that we want, and sometimes there's just nothing you can do about it. But this image looks all right. It looks passable for the time being. All right, now let me show you something else here. I'm going to revert back to the last time I saved this image. Remember this trick from a previous lesson here? I'm going to hit F12 on my keyboard here. You could hit File, Revert if you want. Head all the way back. I'm going to zoom in on this guy. That's where we were. All right, now I want to show you something else here. What happens if I go back into this image size dialog box and I turn my resampling off? So I'm going to fix these pixels. Now this is interesting. So I don't want Photoshop to mess with my pixels. I don't want Photoshop to add or remove pixels. Now check this out. I'm going to take my resolution and I'm actually going to lower it. I'm going to lower it down to 25. Did you notice what happened to my document size? It increased. Let me show you that again. I'm going to use that little Option reset or Alt reset. So right now it's a 5" by 5" image. I'm going to turn resampling off and I'm going to change my resolution down to 25 pixels per inch. So I'm not adding or removing pixels. It's like a seesaw almost. Low resolution, large document size. High resolution, small document size. See how that works? So I'm not actually adding or subtracting pixels inside the image.